Okay, members of council, if you can please take your seats. Oh, I do have one. You put it over there. Okay, thank you. I would call this meeting to order. Would you please stand for the national anthem? Please remain standing for a moment of silence, and during this time, remember Bernie Custis, Alex Faulkner, Joseph Green, Percival Percy Mayers, and Akua Walcott. Thank you. We acknowledge that we are meeting today on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of New Credit First Nation, the Haudenosaunee, the Huron, Wendat, and home to many diverse Indigenous peoples. For the benefit of those who are connected to the internet, the City Clerk has posted all of the agenda materials for today's meeting at www.toronto.ca/council. This meeting, the special meeting of council, is scheduled for the following purposes: to consider the reports of the community councils from their meetings on February 22nd, and to consider urgent new business from the mayor and city officials, and to introduce and enact general bills, and to introduce and enact a confirming bill for the special meeting. Members of council, this is a special meeting, and under council procedures, no other business items such as notices and motions may be introduced. This rule cannot be waived. I would draw to members' attention that our next regular meeting is scheduled for March 28th, and members may submit notices of motions to the city clerk for that meeting. Councillor Mihevik, I understand that you wish to make a brief announcement at this time.
Shall I do it from here?
Sure.
Sure. Okay. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, colleague councillor, members of council. Today, Food Share and more than 250,000 students from Toronto and 900,000 students across the country will take part in the Great Big Crunch. Now in its 10th year, this annual initiative is a fun way for students, parents, teachers, and elected officials alike to show their support in advocating for children's nutrition and the provision of healthy food in our schools. I am proud to say, I think we're all proud to say, that we are leaders in this type of programming. This year, Council was able to increase our contribution to the student nutrition program by over $2 million. These additional funds allow us to provide municipal funding for 15,492 additional students, and it's increased our annual contribution from 16% to 18%, which puts us in the 5th year fulfilling our goal of our 6-year expansion plan. These critical funds ensure that more students receive a healthy start to their day and improve likelihood of success in school. But we cannot count on these contributions alone. The Minister of Children and Youth Services will be at this afternoon's event. The province, to their credit, has been matching funds and has increased their investment by 51% since the plan was developed in 2012. But we need more support from them, and we need more support especially from the national order of government. Having said that, I'm going to ask you to stand with me and students across Toronto today and take the big crunch out of your apples today to remind you to tell our friends at the province and on Parliament Hill at 10:30, where there'll also be a big crunch at precisely 10:30 in the morning, that council and municipalities and students across the country need their support. Each of you see an apple on your front here. If you would be so bold to take that apple in the next few seconds, and if we stand up together and for 30 seconds and just do the big crunch together in solidarity with the children and youth that will be doing so at 10:30 on Parliament Hill and at 2:30 this afternoon. Do you feel comfortable standing up? And all staff standing up right now, right now.
Are they washed?
They're all washed. They're all washed. And we'll count from, countdown 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Delicious.
Wow. And you know he poisoned all the ones of you on the right.
Just the one.
Sit down. Why'd you give me a Bruce one? I'm kidding.
Excuse me, look at what your seatmate Mike ate it before.
I will now call upon the committee chairs to introduce their reports. Councillor Holiday, you have a motion to introduce. Pardon?
No Crisanti, maybe.
Oh, sorry. Councillor Crisanti, you have a motion to introduce the Etobicoke York Community Council report.
Yes, I do, Madam Speaker. Good morning, everyone. That the report from meeting 20 of the Etobicoke York Community Council listed on the agenda of Council be presented for consideration.
Thank you. Councillor Algemari, you have a motion to introduce the North York Community Council report.
That the report from meeting 20 of the North York Community Council listed on the agenda of Council be presented for consideration.
Thank you. Councillor Holland, you have a motion to introduce the Scarborough Community Council report.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and that the report from meeting 20 of Scarborough Community Council listed on the agenda of Council be presented for consideration.
Thank you. Councillor Wong Tam, you have a motion to introduce the Toronto and East York Community Council report.
Yes, I do, Madam Speaker, and good morning, members. I would like to move the motion that the report from meeting 22 of the Toronto and East York Community Council listed on the agenda of Council be presented for consideration, and also note that we've had 36 items on the agenda, and I won't read all the comparators to all the other community councils, but simply highlight the lowest one next to our highest one, and that would be Scarborough with 8 items.
Thank you. Councillor Chan, you have a motion to introduce the new business from the mayor and city officials.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the new business from Mayor John Tory and city officials listed on the agenda of Council be presented for consideration.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motions, recorded vote.
Councillor Davis, please. Councillor Wong Tam. And Councillor Layton.
Councillor Mammoliti, please.
Councillor Davis, your vote, please.
The motion to introduce the reports and new business carries unanimously, 34 in favor.
Are there any declarations of interest? If you do, if you can put your name up to request to question staff. No? Are there any petitions at this time? All right. We will now review and confirm the order paper. Once the order paper has been approved by council, any change will need a 2/3 vote. There are 7 items with confidential information on the agenda. I propose that council set a time for closed session if required, once we have reviewed which items will be held for further consideration. If I can ask members of council, just a lot of noise, please. We are scheduled to meet until 8 p.m. tonight. We will take a scheduled recess between 6 and 6:30, and council will reconvene tomorrow at 9:30 if necessary. However, given the size of the agenda, I'm hopeful that we will complete the agenda today. Actually, there are a number of bets, that we would be finished before lunch. So let's see who wins that bet. It's not me, it's other members. Okay, will we now go through the green sheets? Page 2. DeGiorgio.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to hold 2 items on page 2. Etobicoke York 20.23 and Etobicoke York 20.48 at the bottom of the page.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Holliday.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to hold EY 20.5, page 2, although I recognize it might end up being the first item up. And I'd like a recorded vote on EY 20.11.
Okay. So do we want to take that, the recorded vote on EY 20.11 to remove a private tree at 90 Oakville Drive first? Recorded vote. There's been a request for a recorded vote. Yeah.
Councillor Palacio, Councillor Holland, Councillor Crisanti, please. Councillor DiCiano, please.
Councillor Layton, when you're seated. Councillor Shan, please.
Councillor Crisanti, please.
The item is adopted. The vote is 29-6.
Page 3. Councillor Shiner.
Yes, Madam Speaker, I have held NY 20.42 only for the purpose of adding in a small additional motion in regards to working with the school board to try and get more of a green roof on the site. It's a request of them, if staff could put it up. No, nothing to do with Councillor Philly.
Okay, does the staff have the copy of it? Okay. Okay, let's put it on the screen.
I know my colleague, Councillor De Beermaker, likes what I'm doing, so.
Okay, it's on the screen. All in favor? Carried. Item is amended. All in favor? Carried. Page 4. Councillor Crawford, page 4.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. SC 20.16, 2535 George Street East, official plan amendment, zoning amendment applications, final report. I'd like to hold that.
Thank you. Councillor Holliday.
My apologies, Speaker. Page 3 moved pretty quick. I just wanted a recorded vote on 20.47. NY 20.47.
Okay. So on page 3, NY 20.47, Councillor Holliday has asked for a recorded vote. Yeah, can we see it? Okay, it's coming.
Councillor Bailao, thank you.
Councillor Crawford, please.
The item is adopted. The vote is 29-7.
See?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just wanted on TE 22.3, I'm not going to hold it. I just wanted to note that this is the result of former Councillor Dan Leckie, since deceased. We're releasing the hold more than 30 years later to allow the building of 2 schools and a community center. And this is in large part thanks to former Councillor Dan Leckie, and I want to pay tribute to that.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you very much, and good morning, Speaker. I'd like to hold SC 20.2, and if the staff is available, and this is the Assumption of Services registration plan number is there. It's 1051 Ellesmere Road. If the staff is available, I'd love to maybe just have a quick chat.
Okay, thank you. Page 5. Councillor Cressy.
Speaker, on TE 22.11, there's a quick motion to refer that back to TYCC as the report is not yet ready from staff, if we can deal with that. Yeah, this is 46 Charlotte Street. The report from staff is not yet ready. They have asked me to refer it back to Toronto and East York Community Council.
Okay, so can we put it on the screen? Okay. Okay, there it is on the screen. On favor, carried.
Madam Speaker, I have a second, which is the same. This is TE 22.12, 400 Front Street West. Staff had advised that the report is not yet ready, and they would like me to refer it back to Toronto and East York Community Council, and there's the same referral motion.
Okay, it's on the screen. On favor, carried. Thank you. Councillor Fletcher.
Yes, Speaker. Page 5, Toronto East York Community Council, items 22.8, 22.9. There is a request from the Deputy City Manager that those be dealt with at the next council meeting. And there's a motion such. There it is. For 8.
Okay, so we'll do T22.8 first. So the motion is on the screen. Recorded vote.
Councillor DeGiorgio, please. Councillor Wong Tam. And Councillor Matlow.
Councillor Crisanti, please.
The motion carries unanimously, 38 in favor.
22.9, if we can put the motion on the screen. Councillor Thompson, you want a recorded vote on this one too? Okay. Recorded vote.
Deputy Mayor Minnan-Wong, please. Councillor Pasternak.
Councillor Mamalidi, please. Councillor Burnside. Councillor Cole, please.
Councillor Matlow.
Motion carries unanimously, 39 in favor.
Thank you. Page 6. Councillor McConnell.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Madam Speaker. On T22.53, the construction staging at 143-177 Lakeshore, I have an amendment that staff have put together that would protect the pedestrian walkway.
Okay, so on page 6, T22.53, Councillor McConnell has an amendment. It's on the screen. On favor? Carried. Item as amended. On favor? Carried. Councillor McConnell?
Yes, thank you. And the second one is 22.55, the one below that. Road alteration and amendments to the parking regulations at Mill Street. I've been satisfied that there's another way to do this, and so I'll just release the hold. Thank you.
Okay, on page 6, Councillor McConnell is releasing T22.55. On favor? Carried. Page 7. Councillor Lee.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I was going to hold CC 26.1, but was advised by the clerk that what I was going to do did not require a motion. So it is to replace me with Councillor Nathan Shan on the Toronto Zoo Board of Management. So I'd like to request Mayor Tory to replace me as your designate with Councillor Nathan Shan. That's all I need to do. I mean, I don't, I don't have to hold it now.
I don't think this is part of the item.
Okay. I know it's not part, but I was going to add, I was going to amend it to include that. Okay? But it's not needed. Thank you.
Nevertheless, the gauntlet is down.
I'd like to be on the library board, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Matlow. Councillor Matlow?
What else? I'd like to be on the budget committee.
I'll just wait till they're done.
Okay.
It's recorded.
Yes.
Point of privilege, Mr. Mayor, point
The
of privilege.
library committee, library board.
Okay, come on. Members, please. Councillor Matlow.
Madam Speaker, I can release with a motion, with an amendment, CC on page 7. On page 7, CC 26.3, 116 bell size, and I've got a motion to move recommendation 3.
Okay, so do we have that motion? Oh, it's on the screen. All in favor? Carried. Item as amended, all in favor? Oh, that was the item, sorry. Okay. Page 8. Councillor Fragadakis.
Speaker, it's item CC 26.7, 260 Gamble Avenue, request for directions regarding OMB hearing. I have a minor amendment, if it could be put up on the screen. And it's just to add in consultation with the local ward councillor. Can I get a recorded vote?
Yes, so on page 8, CC 26.7, there's an amendment on the screen, recorded vote.
Counselor Wong-Tam. Counselor McMahon, please.
Counselor DiCiano, Counselor Crawford, Counselor Mihevik, please. Counselor Burnside, when you're seated. And Counselor Holliday, please.
The amendment carries unanimously, 39 in favor.
Okay. Item as amended, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Counselor Cressy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Item CC 26.1030 Woodmer Street. Request for direction. I'd like to hold that. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Shiner.
Madam Speaker, I'm simply rising on item CC 26.8, which is in my colleague, Councillor Matlow's ward, and I don't really wish to hold it. I wish to have a recorded vote. I wish to vote against this, as the amendment that's being recommended changes the nature of what the official plan designation was for this area, and will, I'm sure, now bring about a tide of new development that will look like this, and I don't think our...
Well, then, it's not a quick item, so why don't we just hold it down?
And I simply to say the comment, I know my colleague has done his best to work with it. This is a staff recommendation on this regard, so it's not in anything against that. But
So, Counselor Shiner, you're asking for a recorded vote?
Yes.
Is that, okay.
that's all that I'm asking for.
Hold on. On page 8, unless, Counselor Matlow, you want to hold it? No? Unless you just want to give me a minute and then I'll... Well, then it's not a quick item. I know, but he shouldn't have given him a minute. Counselor Matlow, 1 minute then.
No, I obviously I am compelled to speak, just given the comments by my colleague. And Councillor Shiner is completely correct to have concerns about the fact that we routinely are put in a position, given the Ontario Municipal Board's purview over to Toronto, to have to make difficult decisions with respect to what is the best possible outcome when we are faced with losing even more at the OMB. And in this case, we arrived at a place where there would have been, if not for this settlement, and again, I can speak more to this once the confidential matters are more the details are made public, but we would have actually set a precedent that would have been very concerning for the integrity not only of this neighborhood, but neighborhoods across the city if we didn't achieve this settlement. That being said, though, you often hear about how often we and the community lose at the Ontario Municipal Board. I just came from a protest with Councillor Robinson and Mayor Tory, and the community about what was approved next to John Fisher Public School. But it's not just when we lose at the OMB hearing. The very fact that we have the threat of the OMB over our heads means that even our professional planners, who are experts in their field, often have to give advice that is more to what can be approved at the OMB rather than what, in their professional opinion, would be the best city community planning. So while Councillor Shiner is completely correct at his frustration and our collective disgust at the fact that we have an unelected, unaccountable, and undemocratic body that can willfully ignore decisions of the elected council and the community, at the same time, until we actually free ourselves from the OMB or seek significant reforms, which I believe some might be coming soon, we have to protect the integrity of our community. Thank you.
Councillor Matlow, it's way over 2 minutes. So there's been a recorded vote requested. Councillor Mammoliti.
Madam Speaker, that was well over a minute, and while I do appreciate you giving council members the opportunity to speak at these, I would do the same thing. Last meeting, I'd asked you specifically to allow me for 1 minute to stand up as I was letting something go, and you told me no and to sit down. I would appreciate the same sort of of courtesy that's given to one member to be given to myself or other members that are asking for the same thing.
Thank you. That's why the item should have been held down, Councillor Shiner and Councillor Matlow. So recorded vote on the item. On page 8, CC 26.8.
Councillor Palacio and Councillor Mihevc, please. Councillor Cressy, please.
The item carries. The vote is 36-3.
Thompson on page 8.
Yes, Speaker. I wanted Speaker to be recorded in the negative on CC 26.9, so I'd like to ask for a recorded vote on that item.
Okay.
And I don't just, yeah, that's fine.
Okay, no. Okay, on page 8, CC 26.9, Councillor Thompson has asked for a recorded vote.
Councillor DeGiorgio, please. Councillor Wong Tam and Councillor Layton. Councillor Carroll, when you're seated.
Councillor McConnell, Councillor DiCiano, Councillor Cole, please.
The item carries. The vote is 36-2.
Councillor Holliday, page 8.
Actually, Speaker, I was prepared to release an item to allow it to go on consent.
What page?
Which page?
That would be the first item, page 2, EY 20.5, and it effectively is the next item up.
So you just want to release it?
I can just release it to go through on consent with the group, but don't need a vote on it.
Okay. On page 2, Councillor Holliday is releasing EY 20.5, which is the final report for 19 Glen Ager Drive. Recorded vote?
Just all in favor.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear that. On favor? Carried. All right. All those in favor of adopting the order paper? And all items not held. Recorded vote.
Councillor Mihevc, please. Councillor Filion, Councillor Fragedakis.
Councillor Bailao and Councillor McMahon, please. Councillor Matlow.
The order paper is adopted unanimously, 38 in favor.
Okay, so we'll go to page 2. Etobicoke York Community Council, and Councillor DeGiorgio has held EY 20.6, which is the final report for 2175 Keel Street. So, Councillor DeGiorgio, do you have questions to staff?
No.
Okay. If you have questions to staff, if you can put your name down, yeah. Councillor Ajamari, questions to staff.
Thank you. I understand that Councillor DeGiorgio will be moving motions with respect to parking on this site. And I'd like to hear from staff, Mr. Cresswell, through the speaker, I'd like to hear from you about the pros and cons and why you recommended against.
Through you, Madam Speaker, staff are recommending, in consultation with our colleagues on Transportation Services, that the proposal meet the requirement of the citywide zoning bylaw for parking. Our understanding, Councillor DeGiorgio moved a motion to reduce that parking standard by roughly 100 parking spaces, and that motion did not pass at Community Council.
So I understand that your criteria dealt with the nearness of the site to a rapid transit station.
That's correct. What the applicant is seeking a reduction in parking to be roughly equivalent to what is called the Zone 4 parking, which would be a development that is close to a higher order transit. This site is roughly 700 plus meters away from the potential Eglinton LRT station.
So in your professional opinion, the site would be somewhat compromised if we let the 100 or so spaces go?
Well, again, through you, Madam Chair, we rely on the information from our colleagues in Transportation Services. They're the one that provide the professional advice with regards to parking supply, and they have advised the applicant that they had the opportunity to provide information to them to justify the reduction, and as of yesterday afternoon when I spoke with Transportation Services, they had not provided the information in sufficient amount.
That answers my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? To speak, Councillor DeGiorgio?
Madam Speaker, sometimes it's important that we come forward and we sort of, I do have a motion.
Yes,
if we can
please.
put the motion on.
Okay.
I'm somewhat perturbed by the failure of the Transportation Department to actually take a strong stance on this particular development when it comes to recognizing the parking requirements that, by the way, form part of the new zoning bylaw that was adopted by this council in 2013, where essentially there's a trend to give some parking relief to all sorts of developments, especially in the downtown area, where we're trying to promote transit and less reliance on cars. Now, when it comes to developments that are close to the Eglinton LRT, now I can tell you that there was a development approved just further north on Keel Street where the OMB ended up giving tremendous parking relief on a particular development that I actually opposed. But in this particular location, there are compelling reasons why we should give some minor relief to the parking. And by the way, there is a retention of parking as far as visitor parking spaces are required. That we're retaining the number of visitor parking spaces required in conjunction with the old zoning bylaw. The old zoning bylaw that was in place actually was a little more stringent on parking requirements. So on this particular site, I'm retaining the old parking requirements for visitor parking spaces, but we're providing marginal parking relief for the actual number of parking spaces that the developer has to provide on site. Now, I can tell you that the community is on side, because from the community perspective, I'm basically saying, you know what, if there are fewer cars on this site, there's going to be fewer cars coming into the site, fewer cars going out of the site. We're talking about promoting public transit. So the community is totally on side. And as a matter of fact, part 2 of the motion that I'm putting before you refers to section 3417 of the Planning Act, which basically says when we have amendments of this nature, there is no need to continue and have another public hearing, simply because it's a minor amendment, it's supported by the community, and there's no need to conduct another public hearing, subject to what happened at the public hearing at Community Council. It's my fundamental belief that, in fact, there was poor understanding of what this particular motion tries to accomplish. Remember that what we're saying is the minimum number of parking spaces on this site, and it's a large site, is about 630 parking spaces in total. That's required. That's the minimum. If the developer finds, and this is a phased development over probably 7 to 10 years, if the developer finds that they need more parking spaces, if the market demands more parking spaces, then I'm sure, like any prudent developer, they'd be more than happy to provide more parking spaces. But what they're saying on balance is, let's hold me to the minimum number of parking spaces that are required. I'd be more than happy to provide more, but don't tell me to provide another 100 to 200 parking spaces when the people moving in don't really need them. So why have empty parking spaces on the site? So it's a question of using good judgment, and I hope members of council will support this particular motion, keeping in mind that the visitor parking spaces are ample and consistent with the old the old zoning bylaw that was applicable to this site before we adopted the new zoning bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you. You do have a question by Councilor Mihevik, 3 minutes.
Well, could staff please put the thing up? I'm just wondering where there's a typo here, Frank. Councillor.
Yeah, there is. The part 3, that should probably be point 9.
Point 9, okay. So
Yeah, could you
that would need
please?
to be.
Thank you for picking that up.
Okay. Does this have staff support? If you could talk about that.
I honestly believe that staff, the Transportation Department, had supported this because the applicant has been building on, this is basically what their proposal was built on right from the start.
Right.
And I can tell you that, for example, if we were to refer this back to Community Council, I suspect the Transportation Department might write a positive report. But I don't really think we need to go to that extreme. I think what's being proposed here is minimal parking relief, and I think that we can probably proceed on that basis.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Aljamari to speak.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, I think that the decision of the Etobicoke York Community Council was a sound decision, and I agree with the decision that you made there. I have great respect for my colleague, Councillor DiGiorgio, but I think that when he referred to 100 spaces as minor, he was mistaken. It is not minor. I think that it would cause trouble in the community. Imagine, we had one tower there before, the Northwestern Hospital, which was joined to be part of the Humber River Regional Hospital System, and it's being replaced by many, many apartment complexes. 100, the diminishment of 100 spaces is sizable. And let's be frank here.
No, he's frank.
Let's not be frank. Let's be frank here. The building of the underground spaces is probably one of the most expensive items that a developer comes to pay for. I understand that it's up to about $80,000 a spot now, and that may be a conservative estimate. I don't understand why we want to move mountains to help a developer get out of this particular expense. They have not made the argument that planning and transportation had demanded that they make to make the argument that they are near a station. They are not. So why should we do this? Ask yourselves, why are we bending over backwards? It doesn't have to do with rapid transit. It has to do with letting a developer off the hook for 100 spaces at $80,000, $85,000 a space. Come on now.
Thank you. Councillor de Bearmaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I will be supporting the local councillor's motion. For me, it's not so much about whether you're helping or hurting a developer, it's how you're creating your built form in a suburban area. In my ward, when I got elected, the parking standard was 1.2 per residential unit. I took it down to 0.8 per residential unit. Not because I was trying to get the developers off the hook, not because I was waiving fees for a developer, but because I didn't want to build hundreds of parking stalls that would never be used. When you go into my suburban area of Scarborough, what you find is parking garages where you can go on a parking deck that has 0 cars parked in them. As you drive your car on P3, all that's in there is no cars, just dust. Just dust. So I think as we get transit built out to our suburban communities, there will be lower and lower demand for the automobile. There are students who don't want cars, there are seniors who don't want cars, there are millennials who don't want cars, there are urban professionals that don't want cars. I've seen it in my own ward where we have reduced the parking standard by hundreds of units per development. lower parking standards, fewer cars, and I haven't had a single complaint from a single constituent when they move into all these 1,000-unit condos that there isn't enough parking. In fact, today, in my part of Scarborough, we still have an oversupply of parking. So I don't support investing extra money for parking spaces that will never be used for the next few decades. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Councillor Pasternak.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. Just as a point of order, I'd like to declare an interest in this item. Embedded in the documentation are funds directed to local libraries. As my spouse is technically still working for Toronto Public Library, I'd like to declare an interest.
Okay, did we got that? Okay. Councillor DiCiano.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. So at Etobicoke York Community Council, I voted originally against this proposal by the local councillor, but since understanding the development in further detail, I'm going to be supporting the local councillor, essentially echoing what Councillor de Beermaker is talking about. If ultimately this development requires more parking due to the market demands, we know that the developer will build more because it's the market and the market rules. And of course, this development coming next to a future planned transit corridor, there's good reason to believe that they don't need this amount of parking. And of course, we know in the future that there's going to be less and less a reliance on the automobile. We're trying to push less of a reliance on the automobile. So I have no idea why we would want to entertain more parking spots when we could do with less. So I'll be supporting the local councillor here, and I hope everyone else will as well. Thank you.
Thank you. On the amendment, all in favor? Recorded vote. This is on the amendment by Councillor DeGiorgio. It's on the screen.
Councillor Wong Tam, please.
The amendment carries. The vote is 21 to 13.
Item as amended. Okay, well, we're going to do... Item is amended. Councillor Peruzza, you can vote on this one. Item is amended, recorded vote. Recorded vote. Okay, Councillor Peruzza.
I'm so sorry, but I tried to push the button. I'm in my seat. I wanted my vote to matter. I wanted it acknowledged, and I wanted to vote on the item. I didn't get a chance to do that because it appeared blank on the screen. So I don't know how it appeared on theirs. If they've captured it, then I'm fine with it. If they haven't captured it, I'd like to vote.
Have they captured? So, okay, move to reopen. All in favor? By Councillor de Beermaker. He's moving to reopen. All in favor? Carry. Okay, please, members of council, we're going to be voting on the amendment now. Recorded vote. You have to push the button hard. Just don't tap it. Recorded vote.
Councillor Peruzza, your vote, please.
Councillor McConnell, please. Councillor Fletcher, Councillor Crisanti, Councillor Holland.
Councillor DeGiorgio. Councillor Carmichael Greb.
Councillor Ford, please.
Councillor Rajamari. Councillor Bailao. Councillor Carroll. Members, the previous vote was open and was canceled, so you must have to press your buttons again, please. Councillor DeGiorgio.
Counselor Cressy, please.
Councillor Shan, please. Councillor Thompson, when you're seated, please.
Mayor Tory, when you're seated, please.
The revote on the amendment carries. The vote is 23 to 14.
21, okay. Item is amended. On favor? Carry. Okay, item is amended, recorded vote. Recorded vote.
Counselor Cressy, please. Counselor Fletcher.
The item is amended carries. The vote is 29 to 8.
Okay, the item has been dealt with. On page 2, Councillor Holliday, EY 20.11. Oh, we did that already. Councillor DeGiorgio, EY 20.23. You held the item down. Do you have questions to staff? Pardon?
Voted on that one.
I just have a minor amendment again.
Okay, so does anybody have any questions on this item?
No, this does nothing to do with the parking standards. Madam Speaker, I have a motion with basically an amendment that asks that I get a further report coming back to Etobicoke Community Council that looks at the feasibility of the owner of the acquired road allowance providing a legal easement for one of the property owners in close proximity, really just abutting the road allowance. So it's to just explore the possibility of accommodating some of the concerns of the surrounding property owners. So I would ask for support on this particular motion. No trees no.
Are there any other further speakers? Okay. Please, there's too much noise in the council chambers. Okay, on the amendment by Councillor DeGiorgio, we're voting on EY 20.23 on page 2. Yes, we'll put it on the screen. There it is, the amendment. On favor? Carried. Item is amended. On favor? Carried. On page 2, EY 20.48, Councillor DeGiorgio, you held the item down. Do we have questions of staff?
He's a testaduda from way back. Yeah, testaduda means hard hit.
Councillor DiCiano, Councillor Crisanti, Councillor DeGiorgio, we're at your item.
Okay, I have
Okay.
an amendment, Madam Speaker, to delete part of the recommendation that was adopted. I think the part that I'm deleting is redundant. It applies to North York. And I
Oh,
don't think-
hold on. We have questions. Councillor Aljamari, questions to staff.
Could staff provide a quick overview of the changes that this item would bring forward, would bring about? That's why I need to know.
Okay, just one sec. I'll put your time on hold. Do we have staff here? Oh, okay. Councillor Aljamari, your question?
a brief overview of how this is before us, what makes it, what in this item specifically is different from the report coming forward that council is expecting on the item?
Through you, Madam Speaker, this specific report is not related to the broader permit parking report that's coming forward to the council. It's addressing a specific issue. And the specific issue is removing the reference to the North York component of this, and let's see. Oh, and addressing subcomponent C, which talks about the same issue related to North York.
I don't understand.
I can explain it.
Forget it.
Through you, Madam Speaker, what this does is allow applications for front yard parking in Ward 12, former York, where they would not be refused based on the permit parking component in the bylaw. So it's an exemption similar to other wards in Etobicoke, York.
Thank you. So it would, I'm asking this question now as Chair of North York Community Council. So Ward 12, which a good portion of it was considered North York previously, would, from now on, after the passage of this particular bill, be treated the same as other North York wards, in that we would automatically allow for front yard parking.
That is not correct. The exemption for North York is being eliminated from the motion. That's what I believe Councillor DeGiorgio wants to do at the moment.
Speaker, there's a considerable amount of misunderstanding.
I know, and there's a lot of, there's also a lot of noise happening here. People are talking while Councillor Arjamari is asking questions. Nobody can hear the response from staff. So, Councillor Arjamari.
If staff could try again.
If we try the staff, but please, if we can keep the noise level down so we can listen.
What the change will be for Ward 12.
The current motion that was coming up included North York. What the councillor is doing is eliminating the reference to North York itself and only deal with the former York in permitting front yard parking not to be refused based on the permit parking alone on the street.
Okay. Councillor Perks.
Sorry, Speaker. My question is to the clerk. We have a report due that examines the parking pad regulations citywide. And I'm just wondering if council, having directed staff to do that, I believe within the last year, if this isn't reopening an aspect of that decision by council to get a new harmonized citywide rule, and this sort of jumps the queue and undermines that full review we were doing.
Okay, so Councillor Perks, according to staff, they're just reviewing that right now.
Okay, I'll sit down, and when they're ready to give me advice.
And then you can get back up.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Councillor Carroll.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So while we're waiting for clerks to look at who is seized with the matter at the moment, because I believe somebody is seized with this matter, what is the normal procedure? If we have a harmonized regulation or bylaw citywide, what is the normal procedure for hiving out your own ward and giving it special rules? Would that be the purview of a community council, or should that not go to one of our standing committee bodies, given that we're addressing a citywide bylaw or regulation? Yes, I am. While the clerks are looking, I'm wondering if the staff who ordinarily deal with front yard parking paths would tell us what is their expectation of what is the normal procedure if a councillor wants to take a citywide bylaw or regulation and hive off their ward and give it its own special rules. What is your expectation as the division who would evaluate?
Through you, Madam Speaker, our expectation is that it would go through the community council process and then for city council adoption, because it is an amendment to an existing bylaw that is applied citywide. So city council approval, ultimate approval, would be required.
So council would then have the option of adopting, and indeed I would anticipate a number of Me Too-itis types of amendments, or they would refer it to a standing committee to avoid Me Too-itis?
That is council's decision to make. The process that is established and through bylaw amendments and requirements is that it go through the standing committee and work its way up to city council for final endorsement.
Right, so going through standing committee would allow you to take, even if people wanted to put their Me Too-itis requests on the table now, if council were to refer them all to a standing committee, that would allow you to provide a more professional evaluation?
Well, through you, Madam Speaker, that if that is council's wish.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fletcher, questions of staff.
I just wondered if there is any street parking in that ward, any permit parking of any kind in Ward 12. I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Through you, Madam Speaker, yes, there is.
Is that throughout the ward, every street, that, or simply does it is it different between the two old cities that ward covers?
Through you, Madam Speaker, the majority of that ward, in fact, does have permit parking.
Street permit parking? Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Speaker. I am trying to understand this motion. So this, as I read it, it is now going to allow in Ward 12 changes to legalize front yard parking pads. Is that correct? And it would legalize front yard parking pads in a way that would be consistent with some other changes that were made for wards 11, 13, and 17? Is that the intent here?
That is correct.
And that intent is to say they would be legalized if they didn't take away an on-street parking spot? Is that what this says?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes.
But how is it, so I was not aware that these change, so this exempts Ward 12 from the provisions of the 2007 bylaw, is that right?
That is correct.
And do they have, okay, so your report is coming when?
Through you, Madam Speaker, it will go to PWIC in April, it's proposed, and it will come back to Council in May of this year.
Oh, so it's this month, virtually?
A few months.
Well, this will...
Excuse me, PWIC in May. It's going to go to PWIC in May. The committee in May and this committee in June then.
So presumably, if there are changes citywide, it will override these anyway.
Certainly the citywide proposal will take into account what's existing on the books today. So if this does pass, we'll take this into account as we
Why
revise.
would we go to the effort of changing the bylaw, communicating across Ward 12, hear the changes in the rules, and oh, by the way, next month we're going to change them again? Would that be administratively difficult for you to communicate and change the bylaw and then change them all over again?
Through you, Madam Speaker, certainly we will take our direction from the council on that issue.
Okay, not my question, but I understand.
Councillor McMahon.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. So I guess I'm a little concerned. So there's...
Hold on.
So good morning, everyone. I'm a little concerned. I think there's a whole bunch of motions and reports we're waiting to hear back from. I know. So I think right now clerks are looking up Councillor Carroll's and Deputy Mayor Minnan-Wong's motion that was for a moratorium on parking pads citywide. Is that correct? Clerks are looking for that right now? Or do we know when that's coming to committee?
We're waiting.
Okay, right. And then I had a motion asking for a report, kind of tacked onto that a couple times at Public Works. Not sure if the chair's around. Looking for a type of grandfathering of existing parking pads that are illegal out there right now, and those residents are not paying to park on that parking pad, whereas other residents are, and other residents are paying to park on the street. So some residents are getting off scot-free. There's the gravy. There's the money that we need to save our pools, other things.
So, Councillor...
so where's that report?
Through you, Madam Speaker, that piece is being considered and contemplated in the citywide proposal that will come back to PWIC in May and back to Council in June.
And is that in conjunction with Councillor Carroll's and Deputy Mayor Minnan-Wong's?
Yes.
So May to PWIC, June.
That's the proposal, yeah.
Okay, so would we not, because this is related, would we not either vote against my colleagues, or would we not package that in to this report?
So, through you, Madam Speaker, it's currently a separate item, and we'll take our direction from Council on how that goes.
Okay, lucky you. Thanks.
Councillor Shan, questions to staff.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Through you to the staff, is there currently any other ward that has gotten this type of exemption right now for this particular issue? And which wards are those? Sorry.
Through you, Madam Speaker, yes, wards 11, 13, 16, 17, and 21.
Okay? Thank you. Councillor DiCiano.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. Can someone on staff provide me some clarity on the term moratorium? What does that mean? And how long is a moratorium supposed to last? Is that indefinite?
Through you, Madam Speaker, the moratorium is a temporary provision.
How temporary?
Until the bylaw gets passed.
So my understanding is there's a moratorium on parking pads in Toronto. Is that correct? For Toronto Community Council? What do you mean, no?
Through you, Madam Speaker, there is no moratorium on parking pads. There are specific wards within the downtown community council that do not allow front yard parking, nor do they allow appeals, and perhaps that's what the reference is. But
so why is there? No, you're right. He's right. So there are certain wards in the downtown that don't allow for an application or an appeal.
That is correct.
It goes back to, Canadians being allowed to appeal and apply. So how is that possible, and is that a temporary measure, or is that a permanent measure, and why if it's permanent, why has that become permanent? We're asking for temporary moratoriums in other areas of the city. Why don't we just ask for permanent everywhere?
So through you, Madam Speaker, those are individual ward recommendations that were put forward before council and adopted. There was an existing moratorium prior to the creation of the new bylaw that's currently in place from 2007. That moratorium put a hold on front yard parking applications at that time until the bylaw itself was developed and brought forward to City Council. Once it was adopted at that time, members of council had an opportunity to basically opt into the program or opt out of the program. Those that chose where they did not want to be a part of the front yard parking program pretty much created a prohibition for that ward that does not allow front yard parking. So it is completely different from a moratorium, which is a temporary measure based on something that is forthcoming. Those prohibitions are in place, and unless council directs otherwise, remain in place.
And under the City of Toronto Act, we have the right to prohibit residents from applying for relief of any sort. We have the right to do that under the City of Toronto Act?
Through you, Madam Speaker, I can only speak to the bylaw provision, which basically stipulates that City Council has the right to determine the land usage of the right-of-way. And in this particular case, it is residents that are applying to the city to rent the right-of-way, and you do have jurisdiction over that.
Okay, so when you're asking for a parking pad, you're technically renting access of the right-of-way?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
So, Councillor Perks, we held your time down for the
Yes.
staff to get. So, Councillor Carroll, please. Okay, so the staff now do have it, so, okay. Councillor Perks, so you can ask your question.
Well, I have asked it, maybe.
Okay.
Madam Speaker, the question that we were looking up was the status of the motion by Councillor Carroll and Deputy Mayor Min Wong. There was an item before the Public Works and Infrastructure Committee on November 21st that communication from those members on extending the parking pad moratorium to areas outside of the former City of Toronto. The Public Works and Infrastructure Committee referred that to the General Manager for the report that I believe the General Manager has mentioned in her answers. And so that matter is, there is no moratorium that's been extended until Council deals with that report when it comes back.
Councillor Perks?
I'm sorry, does that or does not mean that the Public Works and Infrastructure Committee is seized of the matter of the parking pad bylaw at present?
Madam Speaker, in my opinion, it does not invalidate the amendment that's before you today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor DeGiorgio, you were on the floor to speak.
What's it with you, Frank? Come on. Well, let me just focus on two parts of the intent of my motion. First of all, the part that related to York. Essentially, right now, the way it exists in York is if someone makes an application for a front yard parking pad, there is a cost to making an application, first of all, and the application is automatically, and I emphasize automatically refused if in fact there is parking permit on the street available. And what I'm saying is, look, and typically then a person would appeal that decision. And so they incur double the cost, in the neighborhood of $1,200 to bring their issue to Community Council for final approval. In other words, the final approval of a parking pad is in the hands of Community Council, notwithstanding all the various bylaws that we have in place. And what I'm saying is, since the ultimate destination is Community Council, why don't we collapse this cost or process and somehow allow the applicant to go directly to Community Council? That's kind of the intent of my motion in the old city of York. Now, in the old city of North York, we don't allow parking on the street. We don't have parking permits on the street. So the North York portion of my original motion is not really necessary. It's redundant. And so the motion today basically says eliminate whatever I tried to do in eliminate North York part, because North York is subject to the bylaw that was adopted in 2007. And to be honest, if somebody had a parking pad that is illegal, that was put in prior to 2007 in North York, not that there are a lot of them, there are enough of them, they should actually have to legalize those things. In North York, as I understand the bylaw that was adopted in 2007, if someone can prove that the parking pad was established prior to 2007, then they don't have to bother. It becomes legal. And I'm saying, you know what? If they didn't do it properly, they should actually go through the process of legalization in North York. So that's what I'm trying to accomplish in my motion. As far as North York is concerned, and I don't get much of this activity occurring in North York, if somebody put in a parking pad, they should be forced to make sure that it's legal. But I'm leaving that aside, and I'm focusing on York, and I'm saying, in York, let's collapse the process. If somebody wants to put in a parking pad, let's minimize the cost of bringing that request to Community Council. That's all my motion does. If I'm wrong in what I think my motion does, then I guess staff refer it back to Community Council so that I can clean it up to do exactly what I want to do. But I think this minor change that I've made, I think accomplishes what I wanted to do. And by the way, you've heard staff say that as far as the Etobicoke York Community Council is concerned, there are a number of wards that are being treated the way I'm proposing that my ward be treated in York, and that is collapse the cost of the process, so that we minimize the cost to the taxpayer of making a particular request, because we get perhaps too hung up on this notion of a parking pad, and we all know that sometimes a parking pad is required, so let's minimize the cost and approve them that way.
Okay. Councillor DeGiorgio, are you done?
Yeah, and by the way, that development on Kiyoshi, we'll adopt all the parking pads. The councillor can have.
Okay, Councillor DeGiorgio. To speak, Councillor Carroll.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm putting on here's the motion. Madam Speaker, first of all, I want to thank Frank. I'm supposed to sit here and not talk today, but thanks to Frank's holds, I'm talking. You heard from staff that a report addressing the very issues that the councillor is grappling with, and many others are grappling with, is coming to Works Committee with a professional staff report in 1 month's time. In 1 month's time, after a year of work. Deputy Mayor Minnan-Wong and I moved a motion through Community Council, much the same way Councillor DeGiorgio did. But my understanding was that once that report was commented on by staff, that they would like to prepare a professionally developed solution that might suit us all in our circumstances, and that they would need some time to do that, that would leave them seized with the matter. So, with respect to my longtime colleague, this is actually waiting until 1 month before that amount of professional work and then jumping the queue just in case you don't like the solution. And I think that what you will deal with then is a crazy quilt of amendments asking for similarly unique circumstances, when in fact, staff are endeavoring to tailor this to meet our needs. My concern is not so much how much time we spend talking about front yard parking pads in Community Council. I'm happy to do it. Happy to talk about parking pads, fences, and trees. That's my job. But we only have to deal with that 1 day a month. What Deputy Mayor Minnan-Wong and myself are concerned with is that increasingly, because we do hear appeals, and ultimately many of them are turned down, what we're doing is going through hours and hours and days and weeks of staff's time, such that they aren't able to deal with some of the more pressing needs in transportation that we do want them to deal with. And so the solution that's going to be brought forward to us will speak to that. Will tell us, if you have option whatever, then these are the resources you better provide. If you want to take our advice, here is our advice. And then, I believe, we would have a learned debate. Not a jump the queue motion that we're reacting to really just based on our personal alliances here in the room, but a learned debate with professional advice before us. So I urge you to support my referral. It's only going to cost you 1 meeting cycle. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Okay, so we have the referral. Does anybody want to speak on the referral? You have 2 minutes. Okay, we'll go to the vote. Councillor Carroll is moving to refer. Recorded vote.
Councillor Perruzza, please. Councillor Wong-Tam.
No.
Councillor Perruzza, please.
Councillor Cole, please.
The motion to refer the item carries. The vote is 24 to 13.
It's been dealt with. Page 4, top of the page, SC 20.2. Councillor Thompson, you held the item down. Questions to staff?
Yes, Speaker.
Okay, questions to staff.
Through you to staff, this assumption of services at 1051 Ellesmere, my question to that is the laneways that are there on site, are those private laneways or are they public laneways?
Councillor, through you, Madam Speaker, they are public laneways. We provide winter maintenance services on those facilities.
Okay, so the city will be responsible for the maintenance of those laneways and streets that are on that site?
That's correct, Councillor.
You are aware that apparently this site has been built with what has been suggested by residents with deficiency in parking. And so what provisions will you be bringing forward to deal with the issue around parking, particularly in the wintertime where the snow clearing has been an issue?
Because of the configuration and dimensions of the roads, we have prohibited parking on those facilities in order to allow our winter maintenance vehicles access to those streets. We've also met with TTC and had a public meeting to look at other opportunities to provide additional parking in the area. And TTC has offered permits in their facility close to the subdivision to supplement the parking for the area residents.
So I just want to make sure we're really clear. Who had the meeting with the community? Was it the city or the local councillor's office?
The local councillor arranged that meeting attended by staff.
Right, and provisions have been made to ensure that there are options available for parking access to the Green Pea area that's located close by.
That's correct.
Could you help me to understand, are you aware as to the number of residents who participated in this particular program with the Green Pea parking to date?
My understanding is that the TTC made available about 30 spaces for the use of residents, and my understanding there was about 6 residents who took advantage of that offer. I think that number might have been a little bit higher now, perhaps 10,
Right.
but not the full 30 that are.
And so you will be recommending some parking restrictions, particularly as it relates to snow clearing in the winter months?
That's correct. The provisions that are there that prohibit overnight parking already, but we are looking to reinforce those restrictions with tighter regulations.
Right. Now, does the city clear the laneways of snow as part of the policy?
In accordance with City Council's standards and service levels for winter maintenance, we only salt laneways, not plow it. The room isn't available for us to plow snow and push them off to the side. They would.
Right. And how, so salting and that's it, really, with respect to laneways?
Again, in accordance with council policy, the extent of the winter maintenance is salting only on laneways.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'll just speak for a quick moment. When that
Thank
opportunity
you.
comes up.
Councillor Thompson to speak.
Thank you, Speaker. I'll be brief. I am obviously in support of the city assuming the services of this area. This is development that has created opportunities for many families to live in the area. However, as a result of the completion of the development, we have recognized that there were some deficiencies as it related to parking, and there are residents who, in fact, bought one parking spot but have 2 or 3 cars. And so they have to now have places to park those vehicles. And so the challenge and the problem that has been created has been such that we have had blockage of the roadway because the snow plow is not able to get through. We've had an inordinate amount of complaints about the city is not providing appropriate services and so on and so forth. I don't actually agree that the city is not providing those services. The city is, and because the city has been clearing the roadway prior to the assumption of the services and so on. But what has happened is that through the process, the developer has sold the varying houses and units, and with parking attached to that. And some residents have not basically seen fit to adequately state the number of parking spots that they truly needed in order to accommodate the residents living in those homes. And so there are some challenges that are impacting the city and the city's interests. We, my office, have attempted to work with both the TTC and others and so on in order to look at parking options. Some of the residents have said, well, we should just be allowed to park on the street. It's not something that we can agree to because it creates other issues, fire safety issues, ambulance services coming into the community and so on. So I rise to publicly comment on this because we have done everything within that's possible at this point to address this issue, and I have indicated through my question to staff that we would like to see, and I will be initiating this, parking restrictions so that to ensure that in the wintertime, those residents who live in that area can actually have safe options if there's an issue with fire, if there's an issue with the need for emergency services and so on. And so I want it to be clear that the City of Toronto will not be plowing those laneways, and in fact those laneways are now used for parking by those very residents who indicated that they only wanted 1 parking spot, but some, in fact, Speaker, have 4 or in fact 5. And so it's creating a huge problem. So it's an ongoing debate. I know it's interesting that we're following the parking pad debate here. There are no parking pad opportunities here, and the service road that is perpendicular, well, actually runs parallel to Ellesmere, it is not possible for people to park on that road because we've got our snow plowers and our large trucks are going through because there is a works yard just on the north side where the trucks have to go through that particular area. And so I see it as a potential problem. I just want to highlight the fact that we're actually obviously dealing with this and that the challenges in terms of moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Oh, sorry. Councillor Ajamari to speak.
This is what I was trying to refer to, Speaker, earlier when I spoke about the kinds of developments that we're recommending. More and more in our suburban communities like Scarborough and like North York, we are adopting...
Just a sec, Councillor Ajamari. Okay.
Similar to what Councillor Thompson was saying, we are adopting more and more the idea of laneways in communities like North York and Scarborough, where laneways did not, as such, did not exist before. People move in with, I had one family with 6 cars, and 2 were accommodated in the person's private unit. You cannot have that. More and more we give developers a break, and we say, as we did with the Daniels Corporation on the former Northwestern site that we dealt with 20 minutes ago, yes, you can have a break on 100 parking spaces, but then in the laneways that will be created by this developer at near Keele and Eglinton, we will have people with 2 or more cars, and they won't have a place to put them, and they will park them in the laneways, and this problem will be exacerbated, and it wreaks havoc on the local roadways that we consent to. So this is a problem that we're having in laneways throughout the city, especially the suburbs, where we continually allow this new kind of development.
Okay, are there any further speakers on the item? Recorded vote on the item. Recorded vote.
Councillor McMahon, please. Councillor Layton.
Councillor Crisanti, please. Councillor Fillion. And Councillor McConnell, please.
Councillor Perruzza.
The item is adopted unanimously, 38 in favor.
On page 4, SC 20.16, 2535 Gerard Street East. Councillor Crawford, you held the item down. Do you have questions to staff?
No, I don't. Actually, I had them answered offline, and I can now release this item.
Oh, okay. So Councillor Crawford is releasing SC 20.16. All in favor? Carried. Page 5, T 22.5, 497, 505, 511 Richmond Street. Councillor, oh, you're not ready yet? So let's go to the next page. Okay. So we'll go to page. Yeah. So page 7, Councillor Wong Tam, T 22.89.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I'm going to be releasing this item because Councillor Cressy, and releasing it to Councillor Cressy, he's got an amendment he'd like to make.
Okay, Councillor Cressy.
Thank you, Councillor Wong Tam. I have a quick amendment on one of the many items in the party clause, and I'm prepared to move that and then move the whole item.
Okay, so the amendment's on the screen. On favor? Carried. Item is amended. On favor? Carried. Councillor Cressy, on page 8, CC 26.10. You held the item down.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm prepared to move the recommendations in the confidential report.
Okay, so you're moving the item,
No.
right? Okay. So on page 8, the bottom of the page, CC 26.10, Councillor Cressy is moving the item. On favor? Carried. Okay, so we just... Okay, so we'll go back to page 5T 22.5. Councillor Cressy, I believe that you have a motion.
I do, Madam Speaker, and I'm going to say a few words on this site. I'm going to move an amendment, if it can be placed on the screen, as well as the supplementary report, which we've worked on with staff and the applicant. And also, Councillor Mihevc has a chart that I just want to put on the screen to talk about this site. Folks, we have a lot of development proposed in Ward 20. In fact, it's been added up that 1/4 of all proposed development in the entire city is now in Ward 20. This project, and we've dealt with a lot of projects, this 505 Richmond Street revitalization project, a Build Toronto project, is perhaps the best project I've been a part and had a privilege of working on. And I want to talk about it briefly, but also thank a number of folks involved, in particular city staff, the development partner, Councillor Shiner and Build. The site itself is 505 Richmond Street. This is in the heart of downtown Toronto. It's a site which was actually the original St. Andrew's Market. The city began with two markets, St. Lawrence and St. Andrews. This is the original St. Andrew's Market. It was also the site of the very first playground, the St. Andrew's Playground in the park in the entire city. So one of our original markets and our original playgrounds. It was used as a waterworks building for much of the 20th century. And the last term of council, it was transferred to Build Toronto. Now, when I got elected 2.5 years ago, Build Toronto came to Councillor Shiner and I and said they wanted to go out with an RFP. We said, fine, but you're going to have to do a bit of work because we want to treat this site differently. And we want to treat it differently. If we could put the picture on the screen that Councillor Mihevc has there, please. Hey, Joe. So we want scroll down till you don't see the ad. We want to treat it differently. This is the neighborhood of King Spadina. King Spadina is the neighborhood from front to Queen and from Bathurst Avenue Road. In 1996, this neighborhood had 945 people living in it. Today, there are nearly 30,000 people living in it. And once every project that is already approved is built, there will be 50,000 people living in it. What you see on this chart right now is just a sketch of a total of 93 development files, 52 of them active. 19 OMB appeals currently, 15 projects that have been approved by the OMB, 24 projects approved by council, 20 current active rezoning applications, 15 sites in pre-application, and every week we have another 1 or 2 sites come in. This is in one neighborhood. The average proposal is in the 30 to 42 story range. Now, the trick here is it livable? King Spadina, prior to regeneration in the 90s, King Spadina was at risk of going the way of many other downtown U.S. cities, which was surface level parking lots and derelict warehouses. At the time, former Mayor Barbara Hall, with others, took the courageous decision to rezone the area for mixed-use development under staff's advice, and it has led to impressive growth. Impressive growth. And it has led to density, but also commercial activity that has been a boon for the city. But in that neighborhood that I just showed you on the screen, in that time, with 30,000 residents moved in, not a single park was built, and not a single community center was built. We're at risk of it becoming not livable. This 505 Richmond Street project in front of us, a Build Toronto project, is part of making it livable. The project we're endorsing today has residential. We need new housing for a growing city. It has affordable housing in partnership with Artscape. We need affordable housing for an equitable city. It includes a 54,000 square foot YMCA negotiated in partnership with the City of Toronto, paid for 2/3 of which through Section 37 funding, to ensure that it's livable for people who live there. The food hall, the original St. Andrew's Market, is being reconverted into a food hall with strong heritage preservation, and the park is being expanded. And just because it's downtown Toronto, there is a transitional youth shelter connected to the site that was put in with build support. This site will be livable, it will be equitable, and it's based on good planning principles. This is what Build Toronto and our city can do when we treat development differently. We've done this because of some partners. I want to acknowledge and thank Build Toronto and Councillor Shiner for their work. Councillor Shiner and I don't always agree on this. We have had a great deal of fun working together, and he deserves real respect and admiration for that, as does the team at Build Toronto. Our development partners, Gary Switzer is here, our development partners from Maud and Woodcliff have been extraordinary. They could have made more money on this site. They could have. But instead, they have agreed, and if I could allow permission to finish in 1 minute, they have agreed to build a project that is going to win awards and make our city a better place. And our development partner should be commended for that. The YMCA and Artscape have come together to make this project a reality. but it's our city staff who have moved this forward with a rezoning in under 9 months because of its implications. Parks, Forestry and Recreation, Real Estate, Heritage Preservation Services, Urban Design, and most of all, City Planning. Our acting Chief Planner, Greg Lintern, who's here today, has shepherded this through along with Linda McDonald, and local planner Michelle Kinnearan has been phenomenal. And so here's a model that works. It hasn't been done without a neighborhood involved. There is a residents association, the Garment District Neighborhood Association, and they have a right to say no to projects that are going to harm them. And we have many that are coming. But they have a responsibility to say yes to projects that are going to support the neighborhood. They've done just that. And 2 folks in my office, Brent Gilliard and Leah Brewer, have shepherded this through. I get to speak, they do the work, and they should be commended. I just want to close and thank you for the indulgence. Our city's growing. Downtown Toronto is growing in huge ways. 40% of all residential development, 43% of all non-residential development is in downtown.
Councillor Cressy, you're way over time.
And I just want to thank everybody for this work. It's been a long project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Carroll has a question for you.
Just a quick question, Madam Speaker. Clarification on the change in square footage and unit sizes. Are we modifying family units, and are we still requiring a certain amount of maximum square footage per units?
So we have 10% family-sized units, and one of the amendments is to allow for an increase in the number of units from 288 to 300 to allow for some flexibility depending on market conditions.
But there's still a certain number of units required to be at a larger square footage.
At a 3-bedroom livable size.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so on the amendment, would you like a recorded vote, Councillor Cressy? No? All in favor? Carried. Item is amended. All in favor? Carried. Oh, and then on the second amendment? All in favor? Carried. Item is amended. All in favor? Carried. Councillor Thompson. Okay, members, before I ask for a motion to enact the general bills, may I have a motion regarding the consideration of submissions on zoning bylaw and official plan amendments? Councillor Thompson?
Thank you very much, Speaker. That committee and council considered submissions in making a decision on zoning bylaw and official plan amendments.
All those in favor, recorded vote.
Councillor Wong Tam, please. Councillor Barlow.
Councillor Crawford. Councillor Mihevc, please. Councillor Burnside and Councillor Fillion, when you're seated, please.
Councillor Layton, when you're seated, please. He's on.
The motion carries unanimously, 39 in favor.
Councillor Ford, you have a motion to introduce certain bills.
Yes, Madam Speaker, that leave be granted to introduce bills 220 to 271 inclusive.
Thank you. Shall leave be granted to introduce these bills? Recorded vote.
Councillor Perruzza, please. Councillor McMahon.
Councillor Robinson, please. Councillor Fillion, Councillor Cole, Councillor Fletcher, please.
Councillor McMahon, please.
Councillor Fletcher, please. Councillor Fletcher, can we have your vote, please? Councillor Fletcher, can we have your vote, please? Thank you.
The motion to introduce the bills carries unanimously, 39 in favor.
Shall these bills be passed and declared as a bylaw? Recorded vote.
Councillor Perruzza, please. Councillor Wong Tam, Councillor Layton,
Councillor Holland, Councillor Fletcher, Councillor Robinson, please.
Councillor Thompson,
Councillor Cressy, please.
Councillor Wong Tam.
The motion to pass and enact the bills carries unanimously, 39 in favor.
Councillor Carmichael Greb, you have a motion regarding absentees.
Yes, that City Council excuse the absence of Councillor Norman Kelly, Councillor John Campbell, Councillor Mark Grimes, and Councillor Ron Moser from the March 9th, 2017 City Council meeting.
All those in favor, recorded vote.
Councillor Pasternak, thank you.
Councillor Robinson, please.
Councillor Bailao, Deputy Mayor.
Councillor Robinson, please.
The motion to excuse absentees carries unanimously, 39 in favor.
Councillor Burnside, you have a motion to introduce the confirming bill.
No?
Yeah, that yellow thing. That's what
Was
it
that
was.
what it was?
Yes.
Oh, wait.
1 minute. Here it goes. He
It's the yellow one that you just threw in the garbage.
He recycled that.
No one said anything to me. That leave be granted to...
His last time.
This is like important. That leave be granted to introduce a bill to confirm to the point of the introduction of this motion the proceedings of City Council meeting 26 on March 9th, 2017.
Shall leave be granted to introduce this bill, recorded vote.
Councillor Wong Tam, please.
Councillor DiCiano, please.
Councillor Thompson.
The motion to introduce the confirming bill carries 38 to 1.
Shall this bill be passed and declared as a bylaw, recorded vote.
Councillor Davis, please. Councillor Matlow.
Councillor DiCiano, Councillor Cole, please.
Deputy Mayor, please. Councillor Matlow, please.
Motion to confirm the, to enact the confirming bill carries 38 to 1.
Okay, thank you to members of council, to staff. Meeting's adjourned.